being on site, it makes it very easy to come by and make sure that things are maintained properly. And we go in after the cleaners and make sure things actually got cleaned the way that they're supposed to be cleaned. We had one time where somebody, I don't know what they were doing, but they just totally forgot a whole casserole and they just left it in the stove.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
other things like that. We make sure that all of the kitchens are stocked so that people are able to have a kitchen as good, if not better, than what they would have had. So that means you've got your servingware is there, you've got china that's there, you've got things that are there to be able to make the different dishes that you want. We're the ones that go out and put the things out on the beach. We make sure people have the chairs and everything, because they don't talk about, when you see all these great commercials and things, somebody had to get all that stuff out there. And yes, we have great relationships with people in the community, and we're able to bring those businesses in and make sure that they're served in the best possible way. We don't allow, crazy parties and stuff like that. But we have had situations where we have had to call and ask for the sheriff's department to come out and help us with people that are down the street.
We're going to get into marketing, having a lack of marketing, a lack of follow through on the cleaning. They're also not making drive-bys regularly,
No.
right? And with the STR law is changing, that can really put owners in a predicament. I mean, I think right now, if you get 3 noise violations, for example, if you have an accidental rental and you have a large party and your neighbors call on you, and I think that they're almost incentivized to rat you out right now.
They are right now.
So since the last time we got together, you have a new 4-legged family member.
Yes, her name is Shadow, and she is a rescue from the SPCA of Brazoria County, and she is just so much fun. She's amazing. She's loving her life here and loving being able to play at the beach and having plenty of room to play out there and get used to the water and everything. So we're so excited.
That's awesome. Have you gotten to take her out on the boardwalk over the bay?
Yeah, she loves going out on the pier, and she thinks the birds are just the greatest thing ever. So she'll just sit and just watch them. And then she goes with Teddy. So Teddy just loves her. So he loves having a sister here. And every day she stands by the door and she's just ready to go out on the pier. So it's been great.
And which SPCA location did you get her from?
We went to the SPCA of Brazoria County. And so if anybody's thinking about adopting out there, I know that they do a great job with these animals, and they have so many different animals that are out there. And actually, she has a little brother and sister that are there. So if anybody wants another little Shadow, they can go out there and just ask them about that.
Oh, sweet. Very nice. So we just got over Biker Rally and we're entering into our holiday season. So I thought that if you're open to it, we would talk a little bit about vacation rentals and our current vacation rental real estate market. There's so many homes on the market right now.
Yeah. So that is great that you asked that, because right now with the vacation rentals and everything going on, we do our on-site property management team. And so we definitely are working to take care of everything. Some of the things that we do for the people that have purchased from us or people that we do property management for is, some of them are from out of state. They let us know what they want set up in the house, so we get it ready for them. We get their houses ready. And it's just something that means a lot to us, because we'd used a vacation rental company before we had moved here, and it was not something that we were able to do. And so we set out to make something better and something that we would have wanted ourselves. And so living here on site gives us the ability to set things up, because when you're traveling, especially with everything going on the travel right now, you don't want to have to get somewhere and think about, groceries, and what if you wanted something particular in your house set up? You don't want to have to think about that, especially if you've got little kids or something. So we handle all of those things for them. And this is just the best season and most fun to do that, because, people are coming, they want things decorated, they want things ready. And it's just exciting to be able to have that kind of relationship. And then for the people that aren't coming, then we go out and make sure that we book those rentals for people that do want to come here, and then they get the income from it. It works great. And other people, they get to have a vacation here on the beach or the bay that they've always dreamed of. And instead of getting cold and everything and staying in ski lines, they get to come out here and be warm and be at the beach. So it works perfect for everybody.
I had a friend come down for Biker Rally, speaking of on-site property management, or even just a property manager that goes through and checks on the property before they check in. So Biker Rally is one of the highest ROI evenings that you can possibly rent out. I remember when I worked at the Hilton in 2006, we were charging $3.99 to $4.99 a room.
Wow.
That's, we're in a higher inflated market these days. And that was just for a hotel room. They get there and the trash cans are knocked over in the middle of the street on a Friday. Trash pickup was Wednesday.
Yeah.
The owners live out of state. We talk to the neighbors. And so your property manager doesn't even bring in your trash cans so that your guests have a great first impression. Have you ever run into issues like that where you found out from guests like different issues that were wrong in your house that your property manager probably should have caught when they were there?
Yeah, there's a lot of those things that we run into. And even talking about, like, you bring up the trash cans, that's a service that we do for people because we want people to have the world's greatest vacation. And you want them to have that too because it impacts your investment value. You want people to give you a 5-star review. You want them to want to come and stay. And so, yes, we run into things like that. We run into things where maybe something hasn't been cleaned. And when you're paying lots of money, you want to come to a clean place. You want to come to a place where all the light bulbs are working and where the remote control has batteries in it, or the fire alarm is not going off because nobody's checked the fire alarm. All of the different things that go into a home, that's not what you paid money to have to deal with.
Right.
And so being on site, it makes it very easy to come by and make sure that things are maintained properly. And we go in after the cleaners and make sure things actually got cleaned the way that they're supposed to be cleaned. We make sure that, we had one time where somebody, I don't know what they were doing, but they just totally forgot a whole casserole and they just left it in the stove.
Oh my goodness.
That would not have been great for someone to come to if they rented it next, but we check everything. And so in doing that, we were able to remove it and it was totally fine. And I know that's a silly thing to say, but it matters when someone else comes and they show up and that's the first impression that they get is, do they have clean dishware?
Oh, well, we know that the oven wasn't clean.
We know that wasn't clean. Other things like that. We make sure that all of the kitchens are stocked so that people are able to have a kitchen as good, if not better, than what they would have had. So that means you've got your servingware is there. You've got china that's there. You've got things that are there to be able to make the different dishes that you want. We had somebody that came and stayed recently and they wanted to do a crab boil. Well, yeah, we live on the coast. We have stuff for you to do a crab boil, and we'll come even help you, teach you about it, help you set it up, show you how to make that happen, and stay with you until it's done if that's what it takes. But being here, we're just one phone call away for any of those types of services that people really want, but more than anything, to make sure that people have what they need. And that's just an important factor of being here.
It is. And I love how you have that follow through with the guests, right? So that once you check in, your family is interacting with them and offering them this resort style experience.
Yeah. And so because we have, among other things, like we'll go check people in, but we also make sure that every day for free, they get daily cabana service out on the beach. So, we're the ones that go out and put the things out on the beach. We make sure people have the chairs and everything because, they don't talk about, when you see all these great commercials and things, somebody had to get all that stuff out there. And do you want to be the one hiking that over there? Probably not. And so we make sure those things are handled. But in doing that, we have a lot of interactions with people to see, maybe it's a 50th wedding anniversary. We've had that before where they want a special picnic. Well, we can do that for you. If it's something they want photographers because they want to make sure that they carry that with them for years to come. Yes, we have great relationships with people in the community, and we're able to bring those businesses in and make sure that they're served in the best possible way. But something that people don't think of necessarily when you're an owner and you're in out of state, and we've had this happen before, we make sure that we know whoever is staying there is who they say they are. So you have to have
no surprise
IDs,
prom
and
parties.
we check it and things like that. We don't allow crazy parties and stuff like that. But we have had situations where we have had to call and ask for the sheriff's department to come out and help us with people that are down the street because their owners had no idea that they actually rented out to somebody different than who they thought. And now there's 30 cars, 40 cars in the driveway, and they're having a huge, massive party for teenagers. And we've got a situation like that going on. Well, we live on site. We're not going to let that happen, whether you are or are not doing property management with us. But what we do know is that's not going to happen with somebody that has a contract with us. We're going to make sure that we know, yes, if you're telling me that you're, John Doe and you're 35 years old, that John Doe, 35 years old, is the one staying there, not, Jane Doe, who's 16 years old because her dad paid for it in advance, right? And so, not that there's anything wrong with, having some youthful exuberance, just as long as it's done responsibly. We make sure that there's responsible rentals going on.
And you can do that because you're here. I
Right.
mean, they're beyond like the property managers. We're going to get into marketing, having a lack of marketing, a lack of follow through on the cleaning. They're also not making drive-bys regularly,
No.
right? And with the STR law is changing, that can really put owners in a predicament. I mean, I think right now, if you get 3 noise violations, for example, if you have an accidental rental and you have a large party and your neighbors call on you, and I think that they're almost incentivized to like rat you out right now.
They are right now in certain areas.
And so then you lose your ability to rent your house out for 2 years. And that is a detriment to your financial portfolio if that's what you expected, was to leverage this asset in order to make an income on it. And so because you guys are here, you're able to save owners from those potential violations.
Yeah. And we make sure that, we are looking multiple times a day to make sure that things are okay. And it's not about like spying on people or something like that. It's literally from the aspect of, we want people to leave here and this be the place they want to come year after year after year. And we have so many people that is how they're booked. They're booked year out, 2 years out, because they want to know, hey, that's their place from now on. That's where their family's going to go. And they want that week. And so that is what they do. And that's what we're going for. We want those people to be happy, and we want the people that are purchasing homes from us and things to know that their investment is taken really good care of. And yeah, we're able to do all of those things, and we do all of those things. And so but yeah, and I'll let you talk about the marketing a little bit, but that's an interesting thing to bring up because it is definitely a factor.
So I think the initial marketing for a vacation rental, that's one big piece that we all know. You got to bring people in. But what most people don't do, and your family has become very good at since you've been here and providing the on-site property management, is getting people to come back next year. So many of us, our families, like we grew up going to the same camping spot every year. We went to the same beach community every single year, but did you stay in the same house? Did you stay in the same cabin? And your husband was recently telling me one of the guests already booked in for next year. And so you have that such great rapport. Are they booking through Airbnb, VRBO?
Actually, we have set up a direct booking site. And we spent a lot of time and effort making sure that got set up for a lot of reasons. And a good portion of the reason is it saves them a lot of money. And, we don't want people to have to pay more than they have to. So it saves them a lot of money. It's great for us because we are able to make sure that we have that direct relationship. Not that we can't through Airbnb and VRBO. We're on those sites as well. But most people, they prefer to direct book, and they prefer to direct book with us. And it's something that we offer to all of the people that we do property management for. And we found that it works really, really well.
And every dollar counts right now in this inflated economy. And so with Airbnb just raising their fees, booking direct can really save both parties.
Oh, it's a lot. It adds up. And think about, they get that money to do other things. It benefits other businesses. Now they have more, they can go on excursion, do what have you. Or maybe they just save it all together. But it really does add up very, very quickly. And with all of those fees and rates going up, everyone wants to save what they can in the economy that we're in. And so, yeah, it works out really, really well.
I love that. And as a realtor, a lot of us, you get that old adage of, oh, they just stick a sign in the yard and they list it on the market and then they call it good. You guys are not just marketing your listings on Airbnb and VRBO, right?
We market on all sorts of different aspects and places. We're everywhere from YouTube to social media. We've got TikTok accounts. We've got, we've got all sorts of different accounts going because that's what it takes. That is nowadays in this market, that is what it takes. People are looking to, social media is a good example. They're looking to other places to find out, they want to see photos, they want to see videos, they want to see what is going on, and they want it to be real time. They don't want it to be just necessarily like, hey, I hired a professional photographer, which we do, but they want beyond that. They don't want just the VRBO footage. They want to see what is somebody doing at that site. Can I visualize myself doing that? What is new today? And they want to be able to see that and have those interactions. And especially the newer generations, that is something that they really resonate well with. And so we have pivoted to make sure that we are in all of those different areas. And when we first got into all of this, yeah, I mean, there was a thing that people would say, well, you're just going to go out and you're going to buy an investment property, you're going to stick it on VRBO and sit back and you're done. But that's just not the world we live in anymore. And, I had somebody that contacted me about a year and a half or 2 years ago. It was not one of our properties. It was just somebody that was asking for some advice from some things and could I help them? And, they had been told that if they bought this one particular property, and they live out of state, that it was going to be fine. Hey, it's a hot rental market. They'll buy the property, they'll stick it on VRBO, and hey, the cash is just going to come through the door. And that's just not the way it is. In a lot of the markets, which comes down to doing your research before you buy, a lot of these markets are very oversaturated. And there are lots and lots and lots of people you're competing against. And some of them aren't the market anymore. And so to just go out and think, well, I'm just going to buy that and shove it on VRBO and the cash is going to roll in through the door is just not something that's going to really, it's unlikely. I'm not going to say it'll never happen, but it's unlikely. You need somebody, a property manager with a lot of experience in it. You need somebody that's going to take the time and the energy to make sure that your property is getting out there and is actually getting rented. I was just thinking about, I still feel bad for that one family who had kind of thought they were making that investment deal and everything. And it leads me to kind of wonder too, and something that I've noticed that you're really good about is, are you hiring your real estate agent because you're just looking at that one sale? Or are you trying to hire somebody that is more for a lifetime relationship? Because what someone sells you and how they treat you are going to be different if they're just trying to get that one sale versus if they're trying to actually earn your business over a lifetime. And I think, what is it like, people, they tend to buy and sell homes within about 5 to 7 years, something like that?
Yes, on average they do. And you're right, I specialize in new construction, but every time I've gone through a buy with a client, I've pointed out all of the obstacles that we're going to hit on the resale market. Because if I'm going to have a problem selling it, I need to let you know that before you buy it. So many families go into this home and they're like, oh, I love it for right now. I love what it can do for me right now. The number one reason people sell their beach homes is because of a lack of accessibility. But when they bought that home, they could access it, right? And then you get older and you can't do stairs. Something happens and you can't do stairs. You move away and it's no longer convenient for you to get to. But beyond that, right? For example, we had this client so I had a client that was a builder, right? And he built on a lot inside of a gated community, which sounds great, sounds luxurious, that does not allow vacation rentals. In this market right now, we're up 50% in inventories. We have almost twice as much inventory as we did this time 2 years ago. I mean, setting record numbers. I think the amount of active listings going into third quarter was like almost 5,000. For Galveston, that is a lot. And the amount of STRs is also at an all-time high, right? So you are in a very competitive, very saturated market. And that builder, he told me it was the first time he'd ever built a home in Galveston. It made me think, did your realtor tell you before you bought that lot to build on the amount of buyers you were limiting yourself on? Because there are so many spacious lots here in Seahorse, in Indian Beach, in these different communities that are very spacious, that allow vacation rentals and are spacious enough that people want to live there for their primary residence. And so a lot of these home sellers that are struggling right now, I don't think there was a lot of thought process into the speed bumps that they were going to hit in a saturated market. You never know when you're going to have to sell. On average, people sell every 5 to 7 years, but the reasons for that change, divorce. This gives me, it was so sad to see. So our prices in Galveston right now, I know that on average in Texas, the sales prices went up 38% from 2020, right? When the interest rates went down, home sales went up, so did the volume of your sales price. Right now, they're back down to like 2020, 2019 prices. There are a lot of homeowners taking hundreds of thousands of dollars of loss, over 6 figures, and those are not just in luxury price points. There are homes that are under $500,000 where this couple was getting a divorce, and right now they're listed for less than $100,000 than what they bought their house for 2 years ago. It's still a successful vacation rental. It has the numbers to show, but nobody wants to buy it because it's right next to to commercial buildings. It's not in the most desirable location. And so it worked for them. It's working as a vacation rental. But if you split, you need to sell it. I don't think that thought process went into, hey, we're buying this vacation rental. It's successful. But in the worst case scenario, what are we going to face? It's our jobs as realtors to make sure you guys know, as the consumers, here is what I see. Now, some realtors don't see that, right? Because they don't have the same experience. I'm very fortunate to have only worked in the vacation rental industry in this area. And so I happen to know a lot about, from the timeshare to the hotels to the vacation rentals, what it takes. If you hire someone that doesn't have that knowledge, then you're just kind of going at it together, right? It's the blind leading the blind, but it's very sad to see because it's a detriment to someone's financial portfolio. You don't plan to, oh, we're going to buy this vacation rental and then lose $100,000 on it.
Yeah, who does that?
But then you also see homes that are not designed for potential resale value. There's an older home nearby that it looks like it has these cute little dormer windows on the second floor, right? And then you go into the second floor, those windows are 10 foot up in the air.
Wow.
They've limited themselves from these stunning bay views across the street because their plan was the windows are 10 foot up. So you go up and it's this huge spacious room where you can really maximize occupancy, which is really important for a vacation rental, but then you have no views, no windows. And there's just a lot of missed opportunities that people don't think about. And so I really enjoyed, when I started working with your husband, going through like what our homes here in Seahorse Estates could really be. Like the home that we're in right now is designed to maximize everyday living and vacation rental potential.
I think that's the great thing about it, is that you can do both. I mean, really, when you think about it and you think about how you design things and structure things, when you're working with a professional and you're working with somebody with the background that you have, for example, then you can sit down and you can really structure and think about, okay, what does that look like? Because you're right, some people, they're going to say, no, I don't want to rent. This is not something I want to do. But I'm going to guess that you want to maximize your investment potential. Everybody wants to do that. So maybe you do not want to rent and that's not something for you, but you need to think about down the road, that next buyer, they might want to rent. And there's no reason that both of those things cannot coexist. And so being able to think that through is really, it could be a very limiting factor if you're not thinking about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But at the same time that I've seen prices drop in Galveston, the prices here have increased drastically. I mean, I got into this community a few years ago, and I know that we had a $1.65 million home beachfront that sold. And now we're sitting in a second row for 1.95 that's under contract in a very competitive, oversaturated market. But this subdivision seems to be doing incredibly well.
We've been very blessed because we are in an area where we don't have oversaturation. We're only going to build 49 homesteads over 108 acres. And that means that you've got plenty of area, plenty of space. You're not right on top of each other. On top of that, we are not over-regulated and we're not over-taxation in an area that's just being taxed every which direction. And so when you add all of those factors together, that is a very desirable area. And we have some of the widest beachfront. We're growing, not eroding. And so we've got plenty of area to have people play. You know, this weekend with the Lone Star Bike Rally, which I loved looking at all the different bikes and everything. It's just, it brings back my childhood in so many ways. I had an uncle that rode Harleys and I love seeing that. But you know, on our beachfront, I didn't see any crowding. I still saw no crowding. And it's an area that is quiet and peaceful enjoyment, and people are seeking that out. You don't want to leave congestion and chaos and traffic to go to more congestion and chaos and traffic.
Fair.
And it's not what you want to do. I mean, you can go visit places. We're only 15 minutes from Galveston, 10 to 15 minutes. There's somewhere you really want, you can go visit and come straight back. But we're only, you know, about an hour from Houston. But when you're looking for a place of vacation, this is the type of place you're looking, and knowing that, hey, we don't have a million homes out here and there will never be. So there's a scarcity thing there where people go, well, you know, if I want to get on this, I better go get going. And we don't have regulations that don't make sense for our environment. I mean, yes, we have an HOA and we provide, you know, mowing and mosquito spraying. We even provide your water, but we don't provide lists and lists and lists and lists of regulations that don't make sense for people, that people don't want to have to worry about. And we are not taxing people every which direction in Brazoria County. And that's something that people are running into too. And you think, well, how bad could it be? Well, if you think about it, when you have a situation where people are being overly taxed, not only does it harm the people that want to stay there for a vacation rental, but then it harms you as a business owner, because then there's other places like here that people can go to and not have to deal with it. And so those are some of the things that we're seeing that I think impacts the ability to continue to be very blessed and continue to grow like that.
I will say one of the wildest realizations that I had discovering Seahorse Estates was that it wasn't in Surfside, right?
Yeah.
We've driven through Blue Water Highway. It is a prettier beach over here, I will admit. As someone who grew up in Galveston, all of the boys bring you for dates out here, right? You walk down the jetty, you went to the Red Snapper Inn. We miss that place dearly. And the water is just prettier out here, but I just thought it was Surfside. And that has its own little reputation as being like a little fishing village, kind of like how Jamaica Beach in Seattle used to be. But you're outside of city limits.
Yes.
So you can actually have fireworks and bonfires on the beach, which is so dreamy during the holiday season, especially with New Year's and 4th of July. I mean, that's incredibly special.
Yeah. It is so much fun to be able to do that. It's one of the things my kids look forward to every year, is being able to come out here, and we have New Year's fireworks, we have 4th of July fireworks. This year we passed out things to the various kids and the vacationers that were here on the beach. We passed out glow sticks and glow wands and things, and we did a little mini fireworks thing that Seahorse does every year. And it's great because people want to have that. I mean, obviously we are environmentally correct. We make sure that we pick up, we make sure that there's no burn bans and things of that nature. But being able to do that, there's something freeing about it. There's something enjoyable about it. We're starting to do more weddings and things like that here. People want to have that big bang at the end. And it's just great to be able to do it. And bonfires, I mean, who doesn't love being on the beach and being able to have s'mores and sit around and tell ghost stories and all the things that we used to do as a kid. And I think people are coming back towards that now. They want to get away from the electronics. They want to get away from the tablets. They want to do something as a family and go outside. And this provides the ability to do that. And Brazoria County does a great job of taking care of all the beaches here. You don't see a bunch of seaweed, you don't see a bunch of trash. You have it's always clean and picked up. And that's something we've just got to be really grateful to Brazoria County for. They do a great job.
They really do. I can appreciate it. And the fact that, there's only 3 growing beaches that I know about on the 2 islands. It's Beach Town, Point West, and here in Seahorse Estates. One thing, though, that sets you completely apart is the amount of space everybody has between their neighbors. Yeah. I make these jokes about Beach Town, and no disrespect to their developer, but he platted out Beach Town with 20-foot wide lots, but you had to buy a minimum of 2.
Yeah.
So then you get these shotgun style houses, and I make these jokes where like you can knock on your neighbor's window and ask for the cup of sugar. You don't even have to go next door. They're like right next to each other. You platted these lots with 70-foot wide. They're 70-foot wide with 50-foot wide build lines. And when I interviewed the developer of Beachside Village a couple of years ago, they had done 50-foot wide beachfront lots. And even they, on their newest phase, may have duplicated that same mindset now in giving people 70-foot wide lots. But then they've got 4, 5, 6, 7 rows of homes, and you've only got 2. Beachfront, bayfront. It's incredible. The view, I've never seen anything like this. Everywhere you look, you get water.
And that's one of the things we really, really cared to preserve. That the land was in my husband's family for a very long time. And my father-in-law, who was just one of the greatest men ever, Jimmy, he cared about families, cared about the environment, cared about families. And one of those things was to make sure people really did have space to be together and to enjoy that. And we have always wanted to do right by his memory and preserve that and make sure that not only are we doing what we can to take care of the environment, but that we're giving people space. We didn't want to have a situation where you're 4, 5, 6, 7 rows of homes. Not only does it make it very difficult to have unobstructed views, which we're very blessed people, you come here, you've got unobstructed views of the beach and the bay. But also from an environmental standpoint, we are blessed to have natural dunes. We're blessed to have a lot of area for water flow and things of that nature. So that if God forbid, there's a storm or something, it's not concrete, 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 concrete. And we want to make sure that we're not overbuilding in an area. We back up to John Bay Nature Preserve, which we gave over 50% of our land holdings into making sure that that was a conservation easement.
Wow.
And we wanted to make sure that that was there for generations to come. Well, in doing that also, if you think about it, we have in total 49 home sites. We don't have 149, we don't have 200 and something of them. We have 49. And part of the reason is we don't want to have that environmental impact over and over again. So we've kind of tried to look at it from all different points of view, and being able to just say, hey, we're just going to do one row on each side and we're going to stagger them appropriately, so that everybody gets a view. I think that has worked out really, really well.
I mean, there's nothing else like it, really. And I think you guys were thinking so far ahead of the future, instead of just what could satisfy my pocketbook right now, right? By selling as many lots as you could possibly have fit here. You donated half of your land and put it into conservation. And you're on a natural migratory bird. So the sites have to be incredible.
They're incredible. And the birds out here are just, they're just so amazing. And when I go and I take Shadow out there and she's on her leash and she sees them, some of these birds, if you've ever had the opportunity, I hope people do get to come have the opportunity to come see the nature preserve in some of these areas. We have birds that they're 3.5, 4 feet tall. They're huge. Wow. And they're just majestic and gorgeous. And this is their nesting area year after year after year. And we have hundreds of birds that come here because it is on the migratory bird path. And so we have everything from little tiny birds to huge ones. We have one of my favorite ones is the white ibis. I also love the rosette spoonbills. Never quite say it right. They look to me like little baby pink flamingos.
They're like little flamingos. We got a couple of them in.
But they're, to be able to see that, that's their natural environment and they're safe. They're able to nest out here. And return every year without the fear of development, frankly, which I know sounds odd for a developer to say, but it's true. You want to make sure that that's preserved and people can come out. One of the things that is available for people when they come and they rent from us are we provide them with kayaks, some of our personal kayaks. They can go use them, and you get to kayak around the space system. I know Explore More does really great tours too. And it's something that is just, it's beyond measure to be able to see things like that. So
absolutely. And the amount of crabs. Oh my goodness. I never got to grow crabbing growing up. And my son and I did our first crabbing off of this pier. And it's just such a thrill. And it's so special because I used to be concerned, to be honest. I'm a little scared of snakes, or timid. I won't say I'm scared, right? Fear not. But, and I've never seen a live snake anywhere near me. However, if you go crabbing in Galveston, you're primarily going to the state park where you do run into that. But here you go crabbing off of a nice boardwalk elevated off of the ground. So you don't, there's no worry there.
And it's so much fun because the kids get to go, and adults, not just kids, but you go out and we have them, they hand line for them, you stick it out there, you pull it back. It's so fun to watch their little eyes light up, and it takes two because, you've got one that's holding the net and one that's holding the crab, and it's just fun. And they can go catch dinner, and think about how much you spend on a crab dinner. And here you go kind of catch it in the backyard and bring it back and, make dinner as a family. And there's also some just phenomenal fishing that is off of the pier as well. And so being able to have those things is it's really a great environment.
And one of the things that I really respect too that you've done is very well thought out amenities, beachside and bayside. When we first moved to Galveston from Tennessee, we lived in a neighborhood in Tennessee that had no amenities, right? It's just streets of homes. And then we moved to Jamaica Beach, and it was so exciting just to have a community with a park, right? In the late 90s. Now I see these luxury communities like Beachside Village and Beach Town that don't have parks or things for the families to come and play together. They have shops. You could go spend more money at some of these local amenities. Evia is the same thing, right? They've got shops and boutiques and restaurants. You can get your hair done, but you're spending more money. But to have a real beachside community area with putt-putt. I mean, that's the amount of money people spend on putt-putt when they go on vacation. You've got bocce ball, shuffleboard, cornhole, a fishing pier, a crabbing pier. I mean, you have really invested in a family's experience or a vacation renter's.
Yeah. And that's the great thing about it is, I feel like John did a great job of just being able to sit down and ask people, what would you want? That's the question we ask all people. What would you want? If you could go vacation somewhere, what are some of the things that would matter to you? And being able to know that you can get up in the morning, you can have things that everybody has something to do all day. You're not spending extra money, like you've said, it's correct. I mean, you go on vacation, it's like spend money here and spend money there and spend over here. And I know that we're a luxury vacation rental, but still sometimes you just want to do something that's playing with the kids, that doesn't involve commerce or transactions or what have you, that you just want to be like, when we were younger, and being able to think about, okay, well, what would that look like? And so we're blessed to be able to have the pier out there, and people can take strolls on that and go crabbing and fishing and kayaking. But being able to build that new entertainment pavilion, it was just great because you've got picnics, they overlook the ocean, you can go have a picnic together, you're underneath something, so you don't have to worry about, we actually just upgraded the whole roof there, so now you can go out, you don't have to worry about rain, you don't have to worry about the sun burning your head, you can go out there and have your picnic and overlook the ocean, and then meanwhile right there the kids can go play. And everybody, the favorite is the putt-putt. That is probably the favorite. And but there's so many other games, and it's safe. You can just watch your kids play it. They have a great time, and then you go in at night and have fun together there too. But it's something we wanted to know, that beach and bay people could do that. And actually, another thing I'll bring up with that, something very important to us, was that everybody can do it. Everyone can access it. I've been in a wheelchair for about 20 years. And something that always would happen is we go somewhere with the kids and they can go do an activity, but I can't. And now don't get me wrong, I love watching them. And I mean, that's just, my mom heart just enjoys watching them have fun. But every once in a while you're like, gosh, I wish I could do that with them. I wish I could be there with them. And we wanted to make sure that this was a place where everybody can be together. Everyone can enjoy it and experience together from beach to bay. We know that you have that same experience, whether it's somebody in a wheelchair, maybe they just need assistance with mobility. Maybe it's your grandpa or your grandma and they're having trouble getting around. We wanted to make sure that things were there. And so we have ADA compliant walkovers on the beach and on the bay to make sure that everybody can get everywhere and everyone can enjoy all of those same amenities. And it's the reason why anytime we do a home build, there's elevators already included in it. We want to know that people can get there. And like I said, maybe it's a wheelchair, maybe it's somebody that just had surgery, but everyone should have the ability to be together as a family and enjoy vacation together. So
I completely respect your firsthand experience and how important that is. And when you talk about everyone coming, it's also everybody's opportunity to come, right? It's grandma, grandpa, every single family member. And another thing that reminded me of, not to get off of ADA, is I see these $2 to $3 million homes being sold where you can barely fit 4 vehicles but it's designed to sleep over 20 people. And if you've got grandma, grandpa coming in, your siblings are coming in, your grown kids are coming in, the grandbabies are riding with them, you've got to have space for those people. Yeah. And you not only have extremely generous setbacks with dunes, right? The homes are averaging over 250 foot of dune frontage. You also have elongated driveways so that you can fit over 8, but the HOA allows 8, with an exception that could be granted, if you have a reason. But you have this beautiful overflow parking. Yeah. Which I'm not sure when you created that, if you were really realizing, like, now we can have family reunions, now we can have wedding venues, wedding events, we can have corporate events, corporate retreats. I mean, you have space for everybody.
So one of the things that we wanted to make sure of is, because we had kind of seen, you go somewhere and it's like, well, you can have 2 cars or you can have 4 cars, but they're down the street, we wanted it to be a situation where, if you say you sleep 18 or 20 people, but 18 or 20 people can actually get there, that they can safely get there. They're not parking, 10 blocks away to try and figure it out. And so, yeah, I mean, we wanted to make sure there's adequate parking and then overflow for things. We're very blessed that every year we've been able to host something for our church. And one of the fun things about that is everyone can come and fit because we have parking and it's right there. And being able to be involved in those things for the community, but also for somebody that wants to have a birthday or whatever, you just call up, you say, hey, I've got this coming, we need some spaces, and it's that simple. And the only reason we even ask for that is we want to make sure that everyone is planned it out, right? You don't want, Grandma Smith is having her, 50th anniversary and Bob down the street's having this party and everyone thinks they're getting the same spots. No, I mean, and that's part of being on-site management again, is making sure that, hey, okay, let's plan it out so everybody gets their party, everyone gets the spots they need, they can all park, and it's all within our community. It's all within easy walking distance. We've got crosswalks that have been set up. There's 2 crosswalks. And that just makes it easier to get back and forth from things.
And you have 7 beach walkovers too. So that when you say and then you brought up a very good point. So there was a home that sold for over $2 million. I think it's like 10th or 11th row. Okay. In a community where their walkovers are actually on the dunes, which I've never agreed with, because if you have rain, and I will stand on that soapbox. If you have rain that's coming through wooden slats and you're on the sand, you are consistently washing out your dunes. Your walkovers are elevated, right? Yes. So then it's a very natural effect on the dunes when it rains. However, this 11th row-ish home that sold for over $2 million, you can't drive and park in front of the walkover. So then you are walking with all of your stuff down and around and whatever to a walkover.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And so most people, when you are paying that amount of money, you expect easy beach access. But the reality is they're actually probably loading up in their vehicles and then driving to a different beach.
Yeah. And if you think about it, it's kind of, nobody wants to do that. It's unenjoyable to have to truck all of that stuff and then truck it back. And so we built this okay, well, we need some that everybody can get over that's ADA, some that come with ramps that aren't ADA because of it's just a little bit too steep, but it still has ramps for people, so that we've made it as easy as possible. And you're never going to go more than 2 houses without a walkover right there. And because we don't have a whole bunch of people here, you're not fighting traffic on the walkover. I've seen some communities and I go by and think, that can't be very fun. They've got people just lined up on the walkover trying to get back and forth. And, there's no reason to have to do that. And so we've made it very easy for people to get to a walkover, to be able to use the walkover, and to be able to not have to worry about just dragging stuff back and forth. And then if you're worried about somebody like your guests or even somebody that lives here, there have been many times where we've gotten a call, hey, somebody is, whatever the reason is, can you please go help them? And yes, we do. It's usually my brother and sister-in-law also live here. And between all of us, we're going to make sure that everybody's stuff gets to where it needs to go and gets back. Without having to worry about that, hopping in the car and driving all the way around and trying to figure out where to go. It's just, so it was one of the things that we really did kind of think about and try to plan out for people.
So not only do you offer the daily cabana setup for a vacation renter, right? You also offer that as an additional premium for someone who lives here on site. So you do have these resort style services. And while I don't have visible limitations, right? I am a single woman. I do have a child and I would like to go to the beach, and my hands have extreme nerve damage from a car accident. And so what I love about this is I could literally pick up the phone and call and ask for a beach cabana to be set up over there so that I'm not the one trying and wasting this precious time. Because we work a lot, right? So our downtime is very valuable. In order to be able to leverage that is a huge asset.
Well, and more than that too, something people don't really think about is with these cabanas and things. So we're using the industrial type cabanas, the really large, sturdy cabanas. I've seen, one person started doing it and they said, well, we're going to do these cabanas. And I thought, okay, well, cool. Because I'm happy when people do things, right? But then I looked and they're the ones that you would get from, let's just say, a cheaper store. And the problem with that is, okay, so now you've checked out this cabana from somebody. You're still stuck setting it up. And we get wind gusts here.
Mm-hmm.
Those cabanas are not set up for that. And so the next thing you know, your cabana is flying through the air and now you're responsible for it. We set up cabanas, we're responsible for it. If there's a problem, we'll come get it. We'll come take it down. We'll put it up later for you. And it's all handled. You don't have to worry about any of it. And that's really what we're going for. And if it's something as, like you mentioned, nerve damage and things like that, we've had people that have called HEB will deliver here. They'll actually deliver to the elevator.
Oh, nice.
You push a button, it goes up and you've got your groceries. But we've had people that's very difficult for them to do. So we don't have any issue. It's included. We'll go over, we'll put the groceries away. We'll make sure everybody has their things because our entire goal is people are developing lifelong memories. And this is the place that they want to develop them and have fun. So whatever it is that goes into that, that's what we're trying to do. And at all times, we're trying to improve upon that. We're trying to look for new ways to do that. What are new amenities? We're always investing more into the community because this is, not only our home, but it's a resort-like community, and we want it to be just that, a community.
I love that. And while I may not be in your price point right now, hopefully one day, there are other communities for people who can't afford to be here that can offer resort style amenities. They can offer great floor plans for resale value, great driveways. These is relatable for everyone. Is if you're thinking about buying a beach house, you've got to keep in mind the value that your property manager brings to you. You may not manage properties outside of this community, but before you hire a property manager, you've got to interview them. You've got to make sure that they're checking up on your house, that there's quality assurance when it comes to your cleaning, that they're actually marketing your property. I see so many people on Facebook, one person puts into a group, hey, I'm looking for a vacation rental, and then everybody starts listing their Airbnb website. And I'm like, why? You're automatically just giving up profit margins that if you would just set up direct booking opportunities, right, you could both be everyone just is better off financially because Airbnb is not making their cut. When you think about buying a beach house, you've also got to think about accessibility long-term, the obstacles that you might face with your resale. You've got to think about the floor plan layout, right? You guys have massive game rooms. So many beach houses have 0 game rooms. So if it's raining, everyone's just kind of like on top of each other in these little living spaces.
Think about that. You go get a big beach house and you say, well, you don't have a gamer or something to play in. Well, let's say the adults want to do one thing, or let's say the kids want to go have their movie or their game or something, and you all want to be able to do things. If you've got people that are like 16 to 28 people, depending on the size of some of these homes, are you going to munch them all into a tiny living room? I mean, our living rooms are really large, but you have to think through not just that moment, that emotional moment of God, this is beautiful, but the what are you doing with it? What are you personally planning to try and get out of it? And then you're right. If I have to resell it, or if I'm going to resell it later, what does that look like for someone else? And making sure that you have professionals around you with that kind of experience to advise you, because you're right. It's not just even about this price point, it's any price point that you're looking at for any of these vacation rentals. I know it's kind of, I talk to people all the time. They say, well, I want a vacation rental. I want a vacation rental. Okay, well, I think that's awesome. And I really am happy for people to do that, whether it's here or somewhere else, but making sure that you've actually researched it. You've looked at the market trends around you. You've looked at who is around you. Is there zoned commercial across the street from you?
Mm-hmm.
What's the zoning around you?
There's so many RV parks popping up. I mean, can you imagine? I bought a beachfront house and then bam, now my front door looks out over an RV park.
Yeah. There's all sorts of things that you have to think about when doing it beyond just that one immediate thing. And also, you can look at too, which markets have a market trend that's done, they've done well. What did they do in the last recession or the last 2 recessions? How did they fare? How long did they bounce back? How many additional properties are in that area that are competing properties? What does that look like to you? And what are you going to do with that information? So it's beyond just that one emotional moment of, I love the beach and this is pretty.
So. I agree. And these two sayings really stick out to me. It's that 90% of millionaires became so through real estate, and that is not through buying and holding, right? It's buying and selling. You just don't have the same one property for 50 years and expect to have 7 figures when you're done with it, because by then you've got maintenance. And the fact that real estate is still the greatest hedge of protection against an inflated market, right? It is still supposed to continue to grow equity. But not all real estate is created the same. It's not just location, location, location either. I think we need to say location, floor plan, access.
Yeah.
Location, floor plan, access.
Well, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because, when you look at diversifying asset portfolios, right? And you look at all of the different ways that you can invest money, is real estate has always been one of those things, the correct real estate, not just any real estate. One of the things to have in a good portfolio. And you're right, it's looking at it and saying, well, what can I do with that property? Is it growing in equity value? And then, I've got a really good friend of mine, and her kids have just done amazingly well in real estate very young. And what they've done is they've found properties that work well for rentals. They rent them for a while, they get the equity value, and then they turn around and buy a different one. And it works for them because they've really thought out, there are multiple ways to make money on property. And, I'm not the realtor of the two of us here, but it just seems to me that when you buy a property, you should think about, am I using this property? Like, let's say it's something that's your vacation home. If I'm buying it in an area where I have the ability to rent it, even if I don't want to rent it right then, having that ability provides me a good hedge against what is going on, because then I have that ability to offset costs later. I have the ability to, more than that, I have the ability to make money on it. So now I'm making money 2 ways. I'm making money in the equity, and I'm making money on the rental income that's there. And then later on, if I want to change it out, hey, maybe we'll make you 2 homes. But whatever that ends up looking like, you've given yourself optionality. And I think optionality is something that people really need to consider when they look at what they're buying, is what kind of optionality do you have? Because you might have the world's coolest, most unique home ever built. And it might be the coolest, most unique home, and people look at it and ooh and ah, it should be an architectural digest. And that is awesome if you have the ability to hold that home forever. But if you don't have the ability nor the desire to hold that home forever, you should really consider, what are you going to do with it later? Because if no one else wants the most unique, most different home to buy it from you, then you've got something that is maintenance later. And
my dad does real estate photography, and he did the photos for one of the Octagon houses in Galveston. And I don't know if you know, there's like over 50 Octagon houses in Galveston. And this one particular Octagon house has really nice beach views. It's across 3005, but it does have really nice beach views. However, it's been for sale for over a year. And while, yes, Galveston hit like 23 months of inventory at one point in time, there are homes around it that have sold. And I think that goes to what your point is. It's a very unique layout, right? It's got great wood, but clearly it's not that there are no buyers. It's not that that home hasn't had any showings, because it has. It is a successful vacation rental, but they're going for a more idealistic floor plan that transcends past specific taste.
Into just a more future. And that's something else to look at too, is something that I think, but when you live on the coast especially, you need to look at what home are you purchasing, because you've got to consider other factors into it, like maintenance. So I know that it was very kind. They wrote a great article about us in the HBJ after Barrel about the quality of the homes that we build and what have you. And, we're building homes to the highest standard. We're building them with everything we can come up with as far as hurricane windows and doors. And we're 18 feet in the air, even though we don't have to be quite 18 feet in the air. And we've got aluminum roofs, all of the various things, right? And so we're a newer home. But you still have to consider that it is a home. and there is maintenance to the home. And so what does that look like versus if you buy a home that's maybe 15 or 20 years old? Has it been remodeled? Has it not been remodeled? Is it to pre-Ike standards? What does that look like? What is the insurance cost with where you live? We're fortunate we're in an AE zone versus a VE zone, and because we build it higher, that helps with interest rates. It helps with interest rates as to where we're sitting on the beach. But that doesn't negate other great homes being out there. It's one of the things you have to factor into the cost of that house.
Absolutely.
And asking yourself, is this something that I'm okay with or something that I'm not okay with? And I think it's one of the things that people really need to think about in real estate too, is maintenance. What's the insurance cost on that house? And did I budget for those things?
Absolutely. When I walk through with my clients, I try to do everything best practice. What you do with that information afterwards is completely up to you. I don't always want to sell the home after they've lived in it. Some people really scruff it up, and I'm like, okay, thanks. We only have so much time in our hands. So I'm not I'm going to work for everybody type of realtor. But I tell people, if you're going to be in this price point, I also need to make sure that you can afford, I would prefer that you make sure that you can afford to have your house sealed every year. Every year, I think that you need to have a painter come through and make sure all of your window seals are caulked so that water is the only thing that can penetrate through everything. And it's a natural soluble, right? It corrodes every single thing. If you leave water on metal enough, it will go through it. We see that with the Titanic. Give it enough time, it starts dissolving. And these homes, the most amount of damage that happens to them is when you allow humidity or wind-driven rain to come into them. And if you cannot afford to maintain the home, oh my goodness, there's this one scenario where I did tell the woman that this is not a listing that I want to take right now. Maybe next year. Also, maybe next year it'll be in a better spot. I still don't know if I would want to represent it unless XYZ is done, because the pilings have never been painted or sealed. So they're dry rotting. The stairs, the deck, never painted or sealed. So you have dry rotting wood that is helping to support your infrastructure of your home. You build on 12-inch pilings here. You use 2x6 exterior studs. There's so much to the build process. But if your husband didn't paint them, we would advise the buyer to do that. And so many people don't continue to invest in their investment. And maintenance, while expensive, it is a vital part in making sure that you get the ROI that you're looking for.
I'm glad that you brought up some of that too, because when you think about the building materials that are used and what those mean to maintenance, when you talk about the decks that we use here, the decking we use here is not the same as everyone else's.
Most people use Trex.
Yes, most people use that. And we use something that's far greater than that.
Yeah, it's called Duxbacked. It's actually from a company out of Wisconsin, and it has a built-in water shedding system. So what I like about it is when you're standing, first of all, you fully enclose everything, right? So every patio underneath the house, it's fully enclosed. Right now, there are houses that are being built beachfront right outside of Jamaica Beach that you can see all of the metal piping and PVC piping underneath the house over a swimming pool. Just all of your home's plumbing exposed. And that's because it's not built high enough, right? And then they don't cap it in. But when you have Trex decking, you have to leave it open to allow the water to go through. And here you can have furniture and not be so concerned with it getting soaked every single time, because all the water goes out towards the front of the home or the back of the home.
Which is great, because it matters. Drainage systems, how something comes off the house, it matters. You don't want it sitting there causing problems. And even, if you think about top down, we think bottom up and top down. What's the foundation look like? What's the top look like? How's that work? We're using aluminum roofs.
And most roofs that you see that are metal are actually Galvalume.
Yeah.
Aluminum is a newer product that I think that they really started pushing after 2018. It's drastically more expensive. But Galvalume is a metal roof that will rust and aluminum will not.
And as you've seen, when something rusts at a beach house, you get those wonderful brown rust ringlets going down your really nice home everywhere. And that goes down to even the screws that get used and the different things that are there. If you're using the wrong stuff or you're going cheaper on it, I shouldn't even say wrong, maybe you're just going to go cheaper on it, that might be fine for that year. But 2 years later, 3 years later, you're going to have these ringlets that come down the walls of everything. And then that's more maintenance.
Absolutely.
And then you've got to paint for that. So it's kind of like if you do it right at the beginning, then you have less issues later on. And so I'm glad you brought up some of those things, because I just feel like those are also some of the things people don't really think about. You go and you want to buy a property or what have you, and you think, well, this looks beautiful because they repainted. And I think repainting is a great way to improve the value of a property. It's one of the cheaper ways to actually add some value, is to give things a fresh coat of paint and change things out. But you've got to think beyond that. It's got to be beyond that. What did they use to actually build that home? What insulation is there? We live in Texas. It's hot. I mean, it
gets really
hot.
cold, right? You get people in those historical homes that are like, cannot keep heat inside of their homes whatsoever. And they're constantly complaining, posting all over Facebook. What do we do? What do we do? And you all use spray foam insulation, and everything is just, I mean, it's really cold outside today, and I get really cold. And this house, even with the AC on at 72, was so comfortable because there's so much insulation. It hasn't adjusted so quickly.
And we use the lighting as far as, with all of the windows and things, to make sure that we're helping offset to the extent possible. Because you're right, when you use the right insulation, you're saving on you being comfortable, but you're also saving on electric bills.
Absolutely.
And that goes back into understanding what is the cost of having something. And I know there's a lot of people in this price range that, frankly, they're not, it's not going to be as big of a deal on some of it, but you want to save money, make money. My grandmother used to say, save a penny, make a penny. And to me, it's the same kind of thing.
Absolutely.
If you can save money on maintenance, you can save money on utility bills and things of that nature. Why would you not want to do it?
Yeah.
And so we try to look at things like that when we're putting homes together, from the ground up and the top down, and what's in the walls, to make sure that things are done right, because nobody wants to inherit a giant maintenance catastrophe.
And that's a lot of what is listed right now. Yeah. And I think it's statistically 1 out of every 4 transactions that is closing right now is closing with cash. Down payments are at a 12-year high right now. So first-time home buyers are averaging 10% down. Conventional home buyers are averaging 23% down. So it's not a matter of liquid assets, I don't think, right? The buyers that can afford to buy, I think that they're just choosing not to buy something, put it good money after bad. No one wants to inherit someone else's maintenance problem. And when you go and you look at all of the homes that have sold, most of them are in great condition with great floor plans. Meanwhile, the homes that have deferred maintenance, so saving yourself a couple $100s this year by not fixing that fan up in the attic, whatever, is going to cost you thousands of dollars on your resale value when you go to sell it, and a buyer gets an inspection and, oh, now this needs to be done. I want $5,000 more than what we already negotiated off. You really cost yourself in the long run. There's that adage that says, if you fail to plan, you should plan to fail. And I think that home maintenance is a big part of it. Not just like, oh, I know I can afford this much of a monthly payment. Maybe back a couple $100s off of that every single month, so that you have a fund to pull from for your maintenance, or get a home warranty for the bigger items like an HVAC system. But maintenance is a huge issue. And I think also having you guys on site with a crew to pull from is an awesome asset to leverage as a homeowner. Like you had one of your property management clients that ended up hiring y'all to remodel their home, and they could do that because you have those contacts to pull from.
Well, and it's a blessing too, because we have full-time crews out here. And so if God forbid something happens, there've been people I've talked to, well, they need this or that, the other thing fixed. Well, right now we're at a low for trades. And so sometimes you're waiting for a very long time, whereas we have full-time crews that are here. And so we can pull from them to get help for things that we need to get help for immediately. You're not waiting 2 or 3 or 4 weeks to get something. We can get it immediately. It actually just happened. I was unfortunately spent this year aware time in the hospital on and off, and I was there, and one of the doctors was complaining because they had an elevator system that had gone out, and they've been waiting 3 weeks. And I was able to say, okay, well, just a minute. And it was somebody also a wheelchair user as well. And so for them, it was urgent to try and figure out to help them. And we were able to provide those contacts and get that for them. But we have people that are here enough of the time that it's already planned into their schedule. It's not something where it's difficult to be able to do that. I mean, obviously people, everything has to be done in line with, being in proper order, but still you're not going to wait weeks and weeks and weeks for a problem. You're going to wait, almost no time. If you call us and there's an emergency, we're there immediately. You're not waiting. I've heard, stories from people. We actually have had 2 sets of people that stayed here who told us the reason they stayed here was they got a call from the people at their VRBO that it just wasn't right. They were on the plane, land on from the plane, get a phone call. Yeah, I'm sorry, the HVAC's out. Well, that's what are we supposed to do, right? So we could call, hey, can we stay there? Well, yes, fortunately for them, that worked out. They could. But I can't imagine a situation of us having to tell somebody that, how you just flew over from another state and I just waited until you got off the plane to tell you, you actually have nowhere to stay. Those are not things we deal with here, not with on-site property management.
It's a huge asset. I want to thank you so much for your time. I'm excited for us to get back together. I hope you have enjoyed this and that the information was valuable. And if you ever have any questions, please reach out to either of us.
Yep, and give us a shout. So thanks
absolutely.
so much.
And we hope to see you here in Seahorse Estates very soon.